The sun rose over NASA's Houston facility like any other day. Dr. Alan Mitchell walked through the hallways with a steaming cup of coffee in his hand. His eyes were tired from staying up late reviewing satellite data. As the head of NASA's exobiology division, he was used to long nights searching for signs of life beyond Earth. What he wasn't prepared for was finding that life hovering right above the planet. Alan's phone buzzed in his pocket. He pulled it out and nearly dropped his coffee when he saw the message. Unidentified object in Earth orbit. All senior staff report immediately. He broke into a run, coffee splashing onto the pristine floor. The control room was already packed. When he arrived, screens showed what looked like a massive ship unlike anything humans had built. "What are we looking at?" Alan asked, pushing his way to the front. Nancy Wells, his deputy director, pointed at the main screen. "It appeared 30 minutes ago. No approach detected. It was just suddenly there." The ship was smooth and silver, shaped like a leaf with strange glowing patterns along its hull. It was massive. Initial measurements suggested it was over 3 miles long. "Any communication?" Alan asked, his heart racing. "Nothing yet," Nancy replied. "But all our systems are working. They're not jamming us, they're just waiting." As if on cue, every screen in the room flickered. A face appeared. At least they assumed it was a face. The being had purple-tinted skin with no hair. Its eyes were large and completely black, with no visible pupils. When it spoke, its mouth moved in ways that didn't match the English words they heard. "People of Earth. I am Zorthul of the Viridian Collective, ambassador of the Galactic Council. We come with urgent news." The room fell. Silent first contact. After all these years of searching, advanced aliens had simply shown up on their doorstep. Within the hour, President Susan Reed was connected to a secure video feed from the White House. Leaders from other major nations joined as well. Alan sat in the back of the room, still trying to process what was happening. Zorthul's image flickered on the main screen again. "Your world stands on the brink of destruction," the alien said without preamble. "Not by our hand, but by a cosmic event we call the Void Cascade." The screen changed to show a swirling mass of darkness at what appeared to be the edge of a galaxy. "This quantum anomaly is expanding. We detected it 3 of your years ago near the outer rim of your Milky Way. Despite the efforts of our greatest minds from over 300 species spanning 27 galaxies, we have found no way to stop it." The alien's face returned to the screen. "It will reach your solar system in precisely 24 of your hours." Gasps and murmurs filled the room. President Reed leaned forward, her face pale but composed. "What exactly will happen when it reaches us?" she asked. "Total molecular destabilization," Zorthul replied. "Matter simply comes apart. 17 civilizations have already been lost." Alan felt his stomach drop. The end of the world had a deadline, and it was tomorrow. "We have come to evacuate your leadership and collect genetic samples of your species," Zorthul continued. "We can preserve your cultural data and some of your people. This is the protocol we have followed with other doomed worlds." President Reed stood up, her eyes flashing. "And how many can you evacuate?" The alien paused. "Perhaps 10,000 individuals. We would select for genetic diversity, and 10,000 out of 8 billion? President Reed's voice was sharp. "That's not an evacuation. That's a sample collection." "It is all we can offer," Zorthul said. "The physics of the anomaly are beyond even our understanding. We have tried for years to solve this problem." The room fell silent. Alan looked around at the shocked faces of his colleagues. Then he had an idea. "If you've been studying this for years without success," Alan said, stepping forward, "perhaps a fresh perspective might help." Zorthul's large black eyes blinked slowly. "Your species is intelligent, but you lack the scientific advancement to comprehend the complexity of this threat. The greatest minds of civilizations thousands of years, more advanced than yours, have failed." President Reed straightened her jacket and looked directly at the alien. "Give us the 24 hours. "I do not understand," Zorthul replied. "Share your data with us. Let our scientists see what you're dealing with." Humans work well under pressure. The aliens seemed to consider this. It would be a waste of precious evacuation time. Then evacuate while we work, President Reed countered. But give us a chance to save everyone, not just a selected few. Alan watched as something like curiosity crossed the alien's strange face. Very well, Zorthul finally said. We will transmit our research data. It will take your systems approximately 1 hour to receive and translate. But understand this is merely a courtesy. You should begin selecting your representatives for evacuation immediately. As soon as the transmission ended, President Reed turned to the room. Get me every top scientist in the country. No, the world. I want them all working on this. Dr. Mitchell, you'll coordinate. Alan nodded, already pulling out his phone. We'll need quantum physicists, astronomers, mathematicians. Within the hour, calls were going out across the globe. Traditional rivalries between nations were set aside as humanity faced extinction. The alien data began pouring in, overwhelming. Earth systems with its complexity. Dr. Olivia Garcia from MIT arrived at NASA just as the data finished downloading. Her specialty in quantum physics made her perhaps the only human who could begin to understand what they were facing. It's going to take weeks just to process this, she said, as she scanned through the first files. We have 23 hours, Alan reminded her. She looked up at him, her face serious. Then we better get started. News of the alien arrival and the threat had spread worldwide, causing panic in some areas and stunned disbelief in others. But in research centers across the globe, scientists began the seemingly impossible task of understanding and solving a problem that had stumped advanced civilizations for years. At the alien ship, Ambassador Zorthul watched the planet below, with his science officer. They truly believe they can solve this, the science officer said, sounding surprised. Yes, Zorthul replied. They do not understand the futility of their position. Their optimism is curious. Should we begin genetic sampling now? Zorthul continued to watch the blue planet turning below them. No? Let them try. There is something about these humans I find interesting. They face impossible odds, yet they work as if they have a chance of success. Little did the aliens know that when backed into a corner with a ticking clock, humans were capable of achieving what no other species thought possible. The NASA Command Center transformed into humanity's last hope within hours. Scientists from around the world poured in, bringing with them expertise and determination. Screens lined the walls, showing the alien data that might hold the key to Earth's survival. The clock on the wall displayed a cruel countdown. 20:43, 12 remaining. Dr. Alan Mitchell rubbed his tired eyes as he coordinated the incoming teams. He had divided the massive problem into smaller parts, assigning specialized groups to each. Some worked on understanding the anomaly itself, others on possible containment methods, and a third group explored evacuation options beyond what the aliens offered. Coffee? Dr. Olivia Garcia handed him a steaming cup. Her dark hair was pulled back in a messy ponytail, and she looked as exhausted as he felt. Thanks, Alan said, taking a grateful sip. Any progress? Olivia shook her head. The physics involved, it's like nothing we've ever encountered. This anomaly exists partially outside our dimension. It's why the aliens can't stop it. Their technology operates within the same physical laws as ours. Alan's phone rang. It was the president's office. Dr. Mitchell, we've located someone you need to meet, the aide said. He's arriving in 10 minutes. When Jack Howard walked through the door, nobody paid him much attention. He was in his 50s with gray hair and wearing a janitor's uniform with Princeton University embroidered on the chest. He looked around nervously at the chaos of the command center. You must be Mr. Howard, Alan said, approaching him. I'm Dr. Mitchell. Jack nodded. They pulled me off my shift, said it was important. Alan guided him to a quiet corner. We found anonymous papers published online about dimensional stability. The writing style analysis matched them to you. Jack looked down. Just a hobby. I clean the physics building. Listen to the lectures while I work. Those papers might contain the breakthrough we need, Alan said. Why didn't you publish them formally? Jack shrugged. No degree. Who'd listen to a janitor? Today, everyone will, Alan replied, leading him to Dr. Garcia's team. Upstairs in a conference room, President Reed was speaking with Zorthul via video link. 5 other world leaders joined them virtually. Your people seem very energetic, Zorthul observed. But I must warn you that this problem defeated the combined effort of many worlds more advanced than yours. Sometimes fresh eyes see what experienced ones miss, President Reed replied. How many ships do you have in orbit now? 17, Zorthul answered. Enough to evacuate your selected few and preserve samples of your biosphere. The president leaned forward. If we do find a solution, could those ships help implement it? The alien paused. Theoretically, but it is a waste of valuable preparation time to discuss impossible scenarios. Back in the main center, Jack was quickly becoming the center of attention. He stood at a whiteboard, drawing diagrams with surprising confidence. The aliens are thinking about this all wrong, he explained. They're trying to stop something that can't be stopped. It's like trying to stop a river with your hands. So what do we do instead? Olivia asked. We redirect it, Jack said simply. Look at their data. The anomaly responds to quantum resonance. If we create a suitable resonance field away from populated space, Zorthul and his science officer, Nirval, observed the humans from their ship. Fascinating, Nirval said. They're working without neural links or unified consciousness. Each human processes information separately, yet somehow they coordinate. They're using a substance called coffee to enhance cognitive function, Zorthul noted. I've analyzed it. Simple stimulant, yet they consume it in massive quantities. And what is that? Nirval pointed to a screen showing scientists arguing passionately. They call it disagreement. Instead of accepting the dominant viewpoint, they deliberately challenge each other's ideas. How inefficient, Nirval remarked. Perhaps, Zorthul replied, not entirely convinced. 12 hours had passed. Half their precious time was gone. In a small break room, Alan found a young woman, sitting cross-legged on the floor, her laptop balanced on her knees. She couldn't have been more than 20 years old. You're Katie Bell? Alan asked, checking his list of arrived experts. The girl looked up, brushing blonde hair from her face. Yeah, undergraduate at Caltech. They sent me because of my paper. On quantum entanglement, Alan nodded. How's it going? Everyone's overthinking this, she said, typing rapidly. I'm running simulations using a modified gaming engine. Traditional physics software has too many built-in assumptions. Alan raised an eyebrow but said nothing. At this point, he was willing to try anything. In the main room, tension grew as another hour passed without a viable solution. Arguments broke out between tired scientists. Olivia and Jack worked quietly in a corner, testing equations that kept failing. Katie walked in, laptop in hand. Excuse me, she said, but no one heard her over the heated debate between senior physicists. Me, she said louder. Alan noticed her and raised his hand for silence. The room gradually quieted. I think we've been thinking about this wrong, Katie said, connecting her laptop to the main display. We're trying to stop the anomaly, but what if we redirect it instead? The screen showed what looked like a video game, but Alan realized it was actually a physics simulation dressed up with game graphics. In games, we don't just destroy the boss, Katie explained. Sometimes we use its energy against it. She ran her simulation. It showed the anomaly being channeled away from the galaxy through what looked like a cosmic slingshot. It's using the anomaly's own momentum, Jack said, stepping closer to the screen. Brilliant. Could this work? Alan asked Olivia. She studied the simulation, her expression changing from skepticism to cautious hope. The math checks out. We'd need to create a quantum resonance field at precisely the right frequency, which would require more power than Earth can generate, another scientist pointed out. Not if we use the aliens' ships, Olivia countered. Their power systems could be adapted. Alan looked at the clock. 11:27:56 remaining. I need to tell the president. Minutes later, Alan, Olivia, Jack, and Katie stood before President Reed and the video link to Zorthul. They explained their plan as simply as they could. "You want to use our ships as energy conduits?" Zorthul asked, his large eyes blinking in what might have been surprise. "Yes," Alan confirmed. Positioned in a specific pattern, they could create a quantum resonance net that would redirect the anomaly away from inhabited space. "The risk is enormous," Zorthul said. "If it fails, we lose our evacuation capability. If it works, nobody needs to evacuate," President Reed pointed out. The alien was silent for a long moment. "This approach was never considered by our scientists. It is unorthodox. Sometimes unorthodox is exactly what you need," Jack said. Zorthul conferred with someone off-screen, then turned back. "We will consult with our fleet. You have 6 hours remaining. If your calculations prove sound, we may attempt this redirection strategy." As the transmission ended, Alan looked at his unlikely team. A quantum physicist, a university janitor, and an undergraduate gamer. 6 hours to save the world, he said. "Let's get to work." The next 6 hours passed in a blur of activity. The NASA command center buzzed with energy despite the exhaustion that weighed on everyone. With their plan approved, the real work began. They had to coordinate with the alien ships, modify Earth's satellite network, and prepare for a maneuver never before attempted by any species. Alan Mitchell stood in front of a large digital map showing the positions of the 17 alien vessels. Each glowed as a bright point of light against the darkness of space. He spoke into a headset directing their movements. "Ship 7 needs to move 3 degrees to the east," he said. "Ship 12 is still too close to the others." Across the room, Olivia Garcia worked with Jack Howard on the quantum frequency calculations. Their earlier disagreements had given way to a focused partnership. Papers covered with equations surrounded them. "If we're off by even a small amount, the resonance field won't form properly," Olivia warned, running another simulation on her computer. Jack nodded, his janitor's uniform now covered with a NASA jacket someone had given him. "I've double-checked everything. The math is solid." Katie Bell sat cross-legged on a table, her laptop balanced on her knees. She had modified her gaming engine to create a real-time model of their plan. The display showed the approaching anomaly as a swirling dark mass, with the 17 ships positioned to create a net-like structure in space. "The timing has to be perfect," she said to no one in particular. "Too early, and the field won't be strong enough. Too late." She didn't need to finish. President Reed entered the room, followed by several military generals and foreign officials. The gravity of the situation showed on their faces. "Dr. Mitchell," the president said. "Status report." Alan straightened up. "The alien ships are moving into position. Our satellites are being redirected to serve as amplifiers for the quantum signal. We're on schedule, but it's going to be close." "And our chances of success?" Alan hesitated. "Based on our models, about 60%, the president nodded slowly. "Better odds than we had 6 hours ago." On the alien mothership, Zorthul watched, the humans with growing interest. Their plan was unlike anything the Galactic Council had considered. It was risky, unconventional, and yet the mathematics behind it were sound. "The human vessels are so primitive," Nirval observed, pointing to a display showing Earth satellites. "They still use solar panels and chemical rockets." "Yet their thinking is not primitive," Zorthul replied. "They approach problems differently than we do." "Do you truly believe their plan will work?" Zorthul considered the question. "I am uncertain, and that itself is remarkable. I have lived 300 of their years and rarely felt uncertainty about the outcome of a scientific endeavor." Back at NASA, a new problem arose. The calculations showed they needed more power than the alien ships alone could provide. "We need to boost the signal strength by at least 15%, Olivia announced, looking up from her computer with worry in her eyes. Alan ran his hand through his hair. "Where do we get that kind of power on such short notice?" The room fell silent. Then a voice spoke up from the back. "What about the International Space Station?" It was Paul Bennett, a retired NASA engineer who had volunteered when the crisis began. It has experimental deflector shields that were developed after studying alien technology from previous encounters. Could those be modified to amplify a quantum resonance field? Alan asked. Paul nodded. With the right adjustments, yes. I helped design them. But the station is manned, President Reed pointed out. We'd be putting those astronauts at risk. Before anyone could respond, a voice came over the communication system. It was Commander Frank Phillips from the ISS. Houston, we've been listening in. We volunteer for the mission. It's too dangerous, Alan protested. The station would be at the edge of the resonance field. If anything goes wrong, with all due respect, Dr. Mitchell, Commander Phillips interrupted. If this fails, we're no worse off up here than anyone down there. Let us help. President Reed looked at Alan, who reluctantly nodded. Very well, Commander, the President said, but only if you're certain. We're certain, came the reply. Just tell us what to do. Paul Bennett was immediately connected with the space station crew. He began walking them through the complex modifications needed for the shield system. Despite being retired for 5 years, his knowledge was precise and detailed. Reroute the power from the secondary arrays, he instructed. And be careful with the phase alignment. It has to be exact. Katie updated her simulation to include the ISS. The model now showed 18 points of light forming a complex pattern in space, with the space station positioned at a critical junction. This actually improves our chances, she said, studying the results. The station's position is perfect for strengthening the eastern edge of the field. The clock continued its relentless countdown. 3 hours remaining. Then 2. The alien ships moved into their final positions, their massive forms creating an invisible net in Earth's orbit. Lisa Dunham, a military officer coordinating from Houston, managed global communications with remarkable efficiency. Reports came in from tracking stations around the world, each confirming that the pieces of their plan were falling into place. Moscow reports all systems online, she announced. Beijing confirms satellite realignment complete. New Delhi standing by. Alan took a moment to look around the room. Scientists who had been strangers yesterday now worked in perfect harmony. National rivalries had been set aside. Even the aliens, who had arrived expecting to evacuate a doomed world, were now partners in a desperate rescue attempt. Zorthul's face appeared on the main screen. Our ships are in position, Dr. Mitchell. The quantum resonance generators are calibrated according to your specifications. I must say, this plan of yours is creative. There was something like respect in the alien's voice. Alan nodded in acknowledgement. Thank you for your cooperation, Ambassador. I must inform you, Zorthul continued, that our scanners detect the anomaly approaching faster than predicted. You have approximately 90 minutes, not the 2 hours previously calculated. A ripple of concern passed through the room. Alan looked at Olivia, who was already adjusting her calculations. We can be ready, she assured him, but it will be tight. Then let's not waste time, Alan replied. As if on cue, Commander Phillips reported from the space station. Houston, shield modifications complete, ready to integrate with the alien network on your signal. Outside, night had fallen over Houston. Stars dotted the sky, oblivious to the fact that one of them, the sun, might soon be engulfed by a quantum anomaly that would tear apart the very fabric of reality. Yet inside the NASA command center, hope burned brighter than fear. 1 hour. To contact, Katie announced, her eyes fixed on her simulation. Alan took a deep breath. Final checks, everyone. This is humanity's moment. Let's make it count. The command center fell into an eerie calm as the final hour approached. Everyone moved with purpose, checking and double-checking their stations. The earlier chaos had transformed into a focused, quiet determination. On the main screen, a timer counted down. 59:42, 59:41. Alan Mitchell stood at the central console, surrounded by screens showing the positions of the alien ships and Earth's satellites. Each piece of their cosmic puzzle was nearly in place. He spoke in a low, steady voice as he communicated with teams around the world. European Space Agency, confirm your satellites are aligned. Confirmed, Dr. Mitchell. All 23 satellites. In position. Chinese Space Command, status? All systems green. Quantum amplifiers online. One by one, each nation reported readiness. For perhaps the first time in human history, every country with space capabilities worked as a single unit. In orbit, the 17 alien vessels formed a complex pattern. Their massive hulls gleamed in the sunlight, each positioned with precision that seemed impossible for such large objects. Between them, smaller points of light marked Earth satellites, strategically placed to strengthen the quantum field they would soon generate. And at a critical junction point, the International Space Station drifted with its newly modified shields. Inside, Commander Frank Phillips and his crew of 6 made final adjustments under Paul Bennett's remote guidance. Power levels at maximum, Commander Phillips reported. Shield harmonics matched to alien specifications. Good work, Frank, Paul replied from Houston. His hands trembled slightly with age, but his voice remained steady. Now reroute the auxiliary power through the secondary conduits. Olivia Garcia and Jack Howard huddled over their equations one last time. Despite having checked them dozens of times, they searched for any possible flaw or oversight. The resonance frequency is stable, Olivia said, highlighting a section of code on her tablet. But I'm worried about the field collapse rate if the anomaly doesn't redirect as expected. Jack nodded grimly. If that happens, we'll have about 12 seconds to implement the backup plan, which has an even lower probability of success, Olivia added. Jack gave her a tired smile. Let's make sure the primary plan works then. Across the room, Katie Bell made final tweaks to her simulation model. The approaching anomaly now appeared as a swirling darkness at the edge of her screen, moving inexorably toward the carefully positioned network of ships and satellites. 30 minutes to contact, she announced. President Reed entered the room, followed by her chief advisors. She had been coordinating with world leaders, preparing them for either outcome. Now she came to witness humanity's last stand. Dr. Mitchell, she said, approaching Alan, the world is with you. Every prayer, every hope, focused on what happens in the next half hour. Alan nodded, feeling the weight of responsibility. We've done everything we can, Madam President. Now we wait and see if it's enough. On the alien mothership, Zorthul observed the final preparations with growing amazement. His species had evolved beyond many emotions, but something like admiration stirred within him as he watched the humans work. They've accomplished more in 23 hours than the Council did in 3 years, he admitted to Nirval. Their approach is unorthodox, but the theory is sound. Do you believe it will succeed? Nirval asked. I do not know, Zorthul replied honestly. And that uncertainty is fascinating. Back on Earth, Lisa Dunham coordinated the final global checks. Her military training kept her voice calm despite the stakes. Australia reports all systems go. African Union confirms satellite alignment. South American coalition standing by. The room fell silent as the timer reached 15 minutes. Alan took a deep breath and activated the main communication channel. This is Dr. Mitchell to all stations. Prepare for field activation on my mark. Ambassador Zorthul, is the Galactic Council ready? The alien's face appeared on screen. We are prepared, Dr. Mitchell. Our ships await your signal. Alan turned to Katie. Final simulation check? She nodded, eyes fixed on her screen. Model predicts 68% success rate with current configuration. Better odds than we started with, Alan said. He looked around at the tired, determined faces of his team. No matter what happens next, I want you all to know that what we've accomplished today, bringing together the best minds on Earth, working with an alien civilization, developing a solution no one thought possible, it's nothing short of remarkable. A soft murmur of agreement passed through the room. Then Katie's voice cut through the moment. 10 minutes to contact. The anomaly's leading edge is now visible to our deep space telescopes. On another screen, a real-time feed from an observatory showed the approaching darkness. It looked like a hole in the fabric of space itself, swallowing stars as it advanced. Begin power-up sequence, Alan ordered. Across the globe, Power stations diverted additional energy to the satellite network. The alien ships hummed to life, their quantum generators creating a subtle distortion in space that was barely detectable by Earth's instruments. On the space station, Commander Phillips reported, "Shield harmonics at 95% and rising. We're feeling some vibration up here, but nothing we can't handle." 5 minutes, Katie announced. President Reed stood beside Alan, her presence a silent support as he guided humanity's defense. "Quantum field stabilizing," Olivia reported. "Resonance patterns match our models." 3 minutes. The anomaly grew larger on the observatory feed, a yawning darkness approaching Earth's solar system. "All ships and satellites, increase power. To full," Alan ordered. "Space station, activate shields now." "Shields active," Commander Phillips confirmed. "Power at maximum." 2 minutes. A hush fell over the command center. On screens around the room, technicians and scientists watched as their months of work, compressed into a single day, faced the ultimate test. "Field integrity at 100%, Jack reported, holding steady." 1 minute. Alan looked at Olivia, who gave him a small nod of reassurance, then at Jack, whose confidence had never wavered, at Katie, whose unconventional approach had given them their best chance, at President Reed, who had trusted them when an alien ambassador told her it was hopeless. 30 seconds. Around the world, billions of people looked up at the sky, unaware of the exact danger, but sensing that something momentous was happening. News broadcasts had reported the alien arrival and the mysterious threat, though details had been kept minimal to prevent panic. 15 seconds. Alan took a deep breath. 10, 9, 8. On every screen, the anomaly's edge made contact with their quantum field. 7, 6, 5. A strange distortion appeared where the darkness met their defenses. 4, 3, 2. The entire network of ships and satellites shuddered as if struck by an invisible wave. 1. The universe seemed to hold its breath. Contact. The moment of contact brought chaos. The command center screens flashed with blinding light as the anomaly hit their quantum field. Then, one by one, each display went black. The room plunged into darkness before emergency lights kicked on, bathing everything in an eerie red glow. Alan Mitchell gripped the edge of the console, his heart racing. "Status report. Someone get me a status report." For several agonizing seconds, silence was the only answer. Communications with the alien ships, the satellites, and the space station had all gone dead. The most sophisticated technology on Earth and beyond had been overwhelmed by the force of the anomaly. Olivia Garcia frantically worked at her terminal, trying to restore any connection. "The quantum surge was stronger than we calculated. It's disrupted all communications." In the tense silence, Katie Bell's voice suddenly rang out. "Look." She pointed at her laptop screen, which somehow still functioned. Her simulation showed the anomaly changing course, its dark mass bending away from Earth's solar system like a river diverted by a dam. "Is that real data or just the model?" Jack Howard asked, rushing to her side. "It's the model," Katie admitted. "But if the field worked as designed, this is what should be happening." President Reed's voice remained steady despite the crisis. "How long until we know for certain?" "If communications come back online, minutes," Alan replied. "If not, there's no way to tell. We'd have to wait and see if the anomaly hits us or not." The seconds stretched into minutes. The room remained in semi-darkness with only emergency power functioning. Around the world, similar scenes played out as the power surge disrupted electrical grids and communication networks. Then, a crackle came from the main speaker. "Houston, do you read? This is Commander Phillips." The room erupted in cheers as Alan lunged for the communications panel. "We read you, Commander. What's your status?" "Roughed up but alive," came the reply. "The station took one hell of a jolt when that thing hit our shield. We've lost some systems, but life support is stable." He paused, then added, "And Houston, you might want to look out the window." Alan turned to the nearest window where others were already gathering. The dark night sky above Houston had come alive with colors. Waves of green, purple, and blue danced across the stars like a global aurora borealis. "It's the quantum field collapsing," Olivia explained, wonder in her voice. "The energy is dissipating through our atmosphere." "But what about the anomaly?" Alan asked. "Did it work?" As if in answer, another voice came through the speakers, the distinctive tones of Ambassador Zorthul. "Dr. Mitchell, can you hear me?" "We hear you, Ambassador," Alan replied. "What's happening out there?" "Something remarkable," the alien said, a new emotion coloring his usually formal voice. "The anomaly has changed course. Your plan appears to be working. The resonance field redirected it away from populated space, just as you predicted." A moment of stunned silence fell over the room, then erupted into cheers, hugs, and tears of relief. People who had worked side by side for less than a day embraced like old friends. Olivia grabbed Jack in a tight hug, while Katie jumped up and down, pumping her fists in the air. President Reed placed a hand on Alan's shoulder. "You did it, Dr. Mitchell. You all did it." Alan shook his head, overwhelmed. "We all did it. Every person in this room, every scientist around the world, the space station crew, even the aliens. We did what 17 other civilizations couldn't. In just 24 hours, the president added. The celebrations were interrupted by Zorthul's voice again. "Dr. Mitchell, I request permission to land a delegation on Earth. The Council wishes to speak with humanity directly. President." Reed stepped forward. "Permission granted, Ambassador. We'll prepare a landing site." 3 hours later, as systems around the world gradually came back online, a small alien craft descended from the mothership. It landed on the lawn outside NASA's Johnson Space Center, where a welcoming committee waited. Alan, Olivia, Jack, Katie, and President Reed stood at the front, flanked by military officers and government officials. The craft's door opened with a soft hiss, and Zorthul emerged, followed by 3 other aliens of varying appearances. They approached slowly, their movements careful in Earth's gravity. Zorthul stopped before the human delegation. His large black eyes studied them with new interest. "On behalf of the Galactic Council, I extend our deepest gratitude and respect." President Reed nodded. "We're just glad it worked." "More than worked," Zorthul replied. "You have achieved something unprecedented. In all our histories spanning thousands of years and hundreds of species, no civilization has ever solved a problem of this magnitude in such a short time." Alan glanced at his team. "We work well under pressure." "Indeed," the alien agreed. "My species has achieved remarkable technological advancement. We have mastered faster-than-light travel, developed quantum computing, extended our lifespans tenfold. But today we witness something we had not accounted for in our equations: the unique problem-solving abilities of humans under extreme deadlines." "It's a talent of ours," Katie said with a tired smile. "A talent the galaxy needs," Zorthul corrected. "Which brings me to the purpose of this visit. The Galactic Council wishes to extend an invitation to Earth to join our alliance, not as a junior member as is customary for newly discovered civilizations, but with special status." President Reed's eyebrows rose. "Special status?" "Yes," Zorthul explained. "As crisis consultants," Jack chuckled. "You want to call us when the galaxy has an emergency?" "Precisely," the alien said, missing the humor. "Your species has demonstrated an exceptional ability to find solutions where others see none, to innovate when traditional approaches fail, to, what is your expression? Think outside the box." President Reed looked thoughtful. "We would, of course, need to discuss this with all Earth nations, but speaking personally, I think humanity would be honored to join. There is much we can learn from each other," Zorthul said. "Your methods are unorthodox by our standards, but undeniably effective." As the formal discussions began, Alan stepped away with his core team. The 4 of them, a NASA scientist, a quantum physicist, a university janitor, and an undergraduate student, looked up at the night sky where the strange colors still danced among the stars. "I still can't believe we did it," Katie said. "I can," Jack replied. "Sometimes all you need is a fresh perspective and a really tight deadline." Olivia laughed. "Don't forget the coffee. Gallons and gallons of coffee." Alan smiled, taking in the moment. "You know what this means, right? Everything changes from here. Humanity just became players on a galactic stage." In the days that followed, news of the Alien Alliance spread across Earth. Schools and universities rushed to develop new programs studying the alien data freely shared by the Galactic Council. Global cooperation, forged in crisis, continued as humanity prepared for its new role. And in academic institutions across the cosmos, a new course was added to xenology studies. Human Crisis Response, the 24-hour paradigm. The case study of how, in just one day, humans achieved what no other species could.